You
Hey,
mark
what if
my
we
words.
dumped a bucket of paint on him? Then we'd see the shape.
You mark my words, bitch. Hello, welcome to Guide to the Unknown. I'm Kristen.
And I'm her little brother, William.
And this week, Will's going to take it away. He's going to tell me a story all by his lonesome.
That's right, I'm in the driver's seat. And you know where I want to drive?
Where?
Straight to Disney.
Ooh, you and me both.
Yes. So as we do this episode, we're preparing for Kristen to go away on vacation.
That's right.
So as you're listening to this, Kristen might be in the wonderful world of Disney.
Very well may be.
And so
Very
I'm
stoked.
going to be sharing some stories of things that maybe you can look out for while you're down there that are kind of, ghosty and scary. But also, some of these stories almost play as warnings of what not to do lest you become another Disney ghost.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good. Little cautionary tale.
Exactly. All of these are ghost stories about Disney World.
Oh.
Or Disneyland. I never really understood the difference. But it's the theme park ghosts of Disney.
Anytime I'm trying, I always have to look it up. Like, I don't even know where I'm going.
I think
I'm going
Florida
to
is Disney World.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. I get them mixed up all the time.
Yeah, exactly. But before we get started, if you're into Guide to the Unknown, please follow at GTTUpod on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to keep up with our projects that we're working on.
Yep.
You can also back us on patreon.com/GTTUpod. If you back us on the Netherworld Warrior level, starting at $4 a month, you're going to get access to tons of bonus material that's already up there, plus the weirdo random things that we happen to share with our supporters.
Right, exactly. As the mood strikes.
Absolutely. If you're not familiar with Guide to the Unknown, please subscribe. We hope you enjoy the show. Kristen and I always do ghost stories on this show. The background of urban legends, of pop culture monsters, folklore. Hit the subscribe button.
Yeah.
Have some fun with us. Stay in our little world.
Cool.
Okay, so let's get right into it.
Okay.
I have sort of got these broken down by ride. A lot of these are rides that you will have no interest in actually going
They're like
on.
roller coasters.
But I want you to be aware as you're walking through Disney of all of the spirits that are...
Yeah, I can side-eye Space Mountain or whatever.
Exactly. Let's start with the Matterhorn.
Okay.
All right.
That's a big one, right?
It's a big one.
Yeah.
This is like a big, iconic, famous Disney ride.
So big figuratively. I meant both these things, figuratively and literally. Isn't this like a big scary ride?
Yeah, I think it's literally like it winds in and out of a fake mountain.
Right.
Like
that's
it's
what I
part
was
of the
picturing. It
Disney
looks
landscape.
cool.
You'll see it on the horizon, even if you don't go up to it.
Right.
So this is the story of Dolly.
Okay.
And a lot of this information I'm going to be sharing with you comes from wanderwisdom.com.
Okay.
There was a great article about Disney ghosts.
Great.
So in 1984, there was a young girl named Dolly Young who was riding on the Matterhorn on the Tomorrowland side. Everything about Disney is broken up into these lands. Dolly was alone in the back seat, and a child was alone in the front seat.
So real quick, this is actually factual. Like a lot of... Oh, okay. Because a lot of stories we tell are, we think. The full name and age threw me. It sounded newspapery or something.
Yes.
Okay.
This is not a newspaper source.
No, I know.
I think that it is wise to take all of this with a big grain of salt.
Perfect.
And I think, also it being Disney and a lot of these stories passed down over the course of decades. Disney is an old place.
Right.
Like it opened in the 50s.
Something like that.
A lot of these stories, I think, have been retold so many times that I don't know if we can trust them.
Okay.
Maybe we can, but it even struck me as I was doing my research that I'm saying in 1984, Dolly Young was riding alone on the Matterhorn.
Right.
Dolly Young, and she's a young girl.
Yeah, I know.
Now, people have the
thought maybe
last
it was
name
just like
Young,
Winky-Dink, yeah.
but it also might just be like the most satisfying form of this story is that it was about Dolly Young.
Yeah.
All
right, cool. Gotcha.
So in the middle of the ride, Dolly unbuckled herself from her seat, supposedly to help the child who was seated in front of her. She stood up just as her roller coaster car passed under a section of track that was above.
Ugh.
Here's a quote from this website. She hit her head on the bridge and fell onto the track. When the next sled came along, Dolly got run over. The story is that they had to dismantle the track to dislodge her body.
Oh, God.
Now, the person who wrote this article from Wander Wisdom, Kristen, had this to say about whether or not Dolly's ghost haunts the ride. Evidently, this person who wrote this article used to work at Disney. I worked on that ride for several years, and I never saw her, but I sure did feel her. Evidently, it's a job for the Disney cast members to, at the end of the day, walk the tracks.
Okay. My God.
I know. You have to like double back along what all of these people who've traveled to Disney have been on to look for stuff like lost and found items, or just to make sure that the track is in good repair.
It makes sense. It's just that sounds scary.
Yes. But every time Kristen walked the track, she felt like someone was watching her, saying, "I was always convinced that it was Dolly, so I would often say hi to her." Kristen also refers to a part of the ride as Dolly's Dip.
Ooh.
Which is crazy to me. I'm sure it's not literally called that. You know, like structurally, they're not like,
oh, yeah.
So the ride will, we'll get this like 45-degree ascent and then we'll hit Dolly's Dip.
Yeah. Go straight down. Yeah.
Go straight on down to Dolly's Dip. Yeah. There's no way that's what it is, but like the colloquial name of that.
Yeah, she probably just thinks of it that way, like when she's walking the track. And I'm thinking it must mean they're walking under the track, right? They're not walking the track.
I don't think they're walking on where.
That's what my knee jerk when I went, was that. And then I thought about it as you're talking. I was like, it's not that. That doesn't make any sense.
No.
But anyway, I'm sure it's just that when she's walking along the path of the track, she's like, just thinks of it. She's like, oh, okay, we've hit Dolly's Dip. Maybe I'm 3/4 of the way done walking this, or whatever it is.
And not even just that, but like, is this what all the cast members refer to this thing as?
Yeah, to each other.
When this person was trained, where they're like, yeah, just be careful around Dolly's Dip,
Yeah.
We've had people who've seen things and heard things.
Right.
Like maybe they try to scare each other.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely,
hey, you should do the Matterhorn tonight at dusk. Hey, we should get the new meat to walk Dolly's Dip.
Haze them.
What's Dolly's Dip? Oh, you don't know
You'll
about
find
Dolly's.
out.
Yeah, exactly. I love that energy.
Yeah, I do too.
The last thing that Kristen says on the matter is that there are lights near Dolly's Dip that always seem burned out. And the last thing she says is, I hated running the track at the end of my shift, and I usually tried to get someone else to do it for me.
Huh.
Yeah. This is a story that has been picked up by other outlets as well. This is from the 13th floor. Here's their version.
Okay.
And this is, again, where it's like, these are not news stories. These are passed on in the telling.
Right.
Dolly Young was a young woman who stood up to check on her children.
Okay.
So now we've pivoted from it being a kid trying to help another kid. Dolly Young was trying to check on her kids. She was a young mother. She was thrown from her bobsled onto the track and run over. And here's from the article. When cast members investigated, they reported seeing no blood, only her feet and legs sticking out from under the bobsled like the witch in The Wizard of Oz.
Ooh.
They sometimes report hearing her voice, feeling cold spots, or the feeling of being watched while walking the track after closing.
Oh, man.
Dolly's Dip on the Matterhorn.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's Ghost 1.
Do they, I don't know, is there any way to find out what Dolly's Dip is? So if you were to go on the Matterhorn, which of course I will not be doing.
Right.
But can you know, I'm coming up to Dolly's Dip. I'm sure things are so hectic
it's
when
interesting.
you're on it because it's not it's not a slow ride where you're moseying and you can take these things in. But I wonder if there's a map, for lack of a better word.
If they're you're going to go through the cave and when you see this, I don't know what the Matterhorn has, but they're
enthusiasts.
There's going to be an elk on your right when you pass the elk.
You're at Dolly's Dip.
Yeah, you're at Dolly's Dip.
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's cool.
It would be interesting, and I did not do this, but Disney has such a culture about it. Not just Disney overall, but Disney World and Land.
Oh, yeah.
That there are things that are lurking beneath the surface. We've both
Besides the tunnels.
Chris.
William.
Kristen and I have both been to Disney.
Yes.
I love it. I remember when I was younger, I was a major skeptic about it being the happiest place on earth and it's going to be life-changing. And then I went, it was kind of life-changing.
Yeah, it's amazing. I just had no interest in it. I was like, sure, that sounds fine. It doesn't really seem like it's for me. And then when we went, I loved it.
It's so
that's
incredible.
why I'm going for my husband's first time will be this trip that we're doing.
It's a feat of engineering.
It's insane.
The level of detail they go to is mind-blowing.
You really feel like you're in a completely different place.
Yes. I think not only for anybody on the planet would enjoy Disney, I think. Even cynics and skeptics.
Yeah.
But I also think that maybe because you and I are a little, I don't know, broadly theatrical and performative,
Yeah.
there's something there that is also really motivating about seeing how far they have taken their ideas.
Yes, it's to the nth degree.
The go-to example I always have was that we went to, it was like a Beauty and the Beast themed pub.
Yeah.
And, it's just like people are just working. Somebody has to make the fries.
Totally.
But the person who makes the fries is dressed like, they're friends with Gaston.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you crane your neck to look around to where the fry machine is, it still has like...
It's still a fry machine.
It still has pictures of like cartoon old French people all over the place back there.
Back in the kitchen it does?
Yes, everything is designed. If you can see it as the average goer,
right,
it's designed for you to be able to see it that way. They only drop the facade like when you go into the service areas.
Right.
If it's on the floor and a guest in the park can see it,
right,
it's in universe.
I know that, but I guess when you're saying if you crane to look at the French fries, I was thinking that it was beyond guests' eyes.
No, they know that you're going to crane to look at the French fry machine.
What? So
yes.
wait. Sorry, I'm harping on the French fry machine.
It's an example.
Okay.
I don't know about the actual...
I thought maybe you craned.
No, about the damn French fries.
I thought you craned to look at the French fry machine. There was like a picture of Mrs. Potts on it or something. I was just curious.
Yeah, I don't know literally about the French fries, but like they know you're going to crane your neck to look around the counter. How awesome would it be if secretly, like, Guide to the Unknown is holding on by a string and you and I are actually, like, filled with animosity to each other?
And those, like, little things where you see the cracks we get in fights that are real.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And, like, we accidentally left in a moment of us fighting. Yeah. And it's like, just tell the damn story! Why does it always have to be a thing? Flipping out.
To edit it. I have a... mostly joke thing, but semi-real. So because my husband Ryan is a chef, he's it's not like constant or anything, but if it's like a fancy place we're going that he's been excited to go to or whatever, he'll sometimes either something happens where we end up looking at the kitchen. Like maybe he'll say he's a chef and he'll ask if we can see the kitchen, or he'll tell him they're a chef. He's a chef and then they offer, do you want to walk through the kitchen?
Really?
Because it's like a known thing that chefs like to see other chefs' kitchens or something.
Oh, I should start saying that. I love going into service areas like Die Hard. I love seeing what the average person's not supposed to see.
Me too.
Love it.
It's very neat. But no, for sure, people have just like cold offered it because they know that it'll be of interest to him or whatever. Right. So I wonder if there's any universe where Ryan and I go to be our guest or whatever, that fancy, I don't think it's fancy, but like that restaurant.
Try the gray stuff. It's delicious.
Exactly. And Ryan drops like, so I'm a chef, and they take us back there and it's just, normal people.
I
don't think so. I don't think so.
That
saying.
Would be rad, but I really don't think so because I think that Disney is about secrets.
Yeah. Which is part of what makes it also intriguing.
Right.
Like it's not just that this is cool and that you go into a different world and everything when you go there because it's just so transformative and absorbing and everything. The reason we're talking about it and the reason there are such mega fans all over the place is because there is that secretive underlayer. Otherwise, you would just go and it's cool and interesting, but we wouldn't be doing a show about it. No. It's intriguing.
It sticks with you. They're hiding something.
How perfect it is. And
they're hiding something.
Perfect. Exactly.
Yes, it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
I really love it.
It's weird. I think that a lot of things are criticized for being perfect on the surface and then having an imperfect underbelly, even though literally everything is like that. Yes. But Disney, I feel like, is lauded for it.
Yes.
In a way that most other things aren't.
Other
things would be called like inauthentic or whatever, and Disney is that they're pros.
I would also,
and I agree.
I would probably also love the imperfections.
I would too, I'm sure.
There's a level of care and detail put into Disney that is like mind-blowing and staggering.
Yeah.
So let's jump to one of our favorite rides, Kristen.
Yes.
And for a lot of these things, I'm not going to have things that are going to blow your socks off, but I think they're all worth mentioning, especially because you're going to be immersed in this world.
I'm easily interested anyway.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Excellent.
So this was kind of fun in that way of like, the entertainment industry used to have no option but to be a little morbid. Mm-hmm. So the 13th floor points out that it used to be really hard to get fake skeletons.
Uh-huh.
And so a lot of productions, think Poltergeist,
right, used real skeletons.
Mm-hmm. So there is a long-standing rumor that some of these skeletons in Pirates of the Caribbean are real bones.
Really?
They're real dead people.
Cool.
Now, it's been decades since that ride opened. All of those animatronics have been worked on, replaced, upgraded. The real skeletons are gone. Except there is a rumor. And this is something that you can keep an eye out for and try to see the veracity of this statement.
Yes.
There is a rumor that there is one set of a skull and crossbones that are still real human remains. Where are they located? Why, nowhere else than above the dead captain's bed at the end of the ride.
Okay.
So at the head of the bed, picture like the headboard, there's supposed to be a skull and crossbones. Real skull,
Yeah.
real bones.
So again, I'm sorry that this is kind of a dense or repetitive question. Is it factual that these are a real skeleton and real bones? Like, are we saying it's real and it's known, or it's like the rumor
It's rumors.
is that it's real? Okay, gotcha.
These are
Fine.
all rumors.
Fine.
You know, it never even occurred to me that I could try to confirm these things because I almost
fine.
don't want to know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, that would be a journalistic pursuit that would be intriguing.
Sure.
But I don't want to know.
No, that's fine with me.
I want to believe in the legends.
Right.
So
Cool. All right, I'll keep my eyes peeled.
Here's another angle that I've got here on some of these stories. So Wander Wisdom had a comments section. And I pulled some choice comments from people
Sweet.
referencing some of these stories. So here are some
This
of
is
the
very
comments
good.
that refer to the Pirates of the Caribbean section. Here's a really, really dark one. This was posted by Jay 17 months ago. It's pretty gruesome.
Okay, I'm ready.
There is another ghost. How do you think he spelled the word ghost?
Minus the H?
There's no H in the word ghost that he spelled, but it's a little bit different still. How do you think he spelled the word ghost?
Wait. There's no H in the word ghost that he spelled? What do you
Correct.
mean? Okay, so my first thing is right, and there's more of misspelling?
There's more that's wrong about it than just dropping the H.
Does it end with a D?
No. There's another ghost, G-O-A-S-T,
Wow, okay.
almost like goats.
Yeah, goats with a twist.
Yeah. There's another ghost that haunts Pirates of the Caribbean. It was a pregnant mother. Then she fell out of the boat and her head was smashed.
Oh. God.
The brevity of this comment
Yeah, that's it.
and the intensity of the death is
no context and major gruesome death.
But the other thing that it immediately sprang to mind for moi
Yeah.
is that our mother
Yeah.
famously went to Disney when she was pregnant with me and went
Yes.
on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride.
Wait,
So
this
up
is not famous to me.
It's famous
actually.
to me. When I was up until I first went to Disney, probably in my early to mid 20s, I would tell people because we never really went on vacation when we were kids.
I would say, what the hell? That means I was around. Why didn't I go to Disney with them?
They left you behind.
What the hell? I was 3. That's like prime Disney age.
Nah, you didn't deserve it.
I mean, they deserve their alone time and
were
everything.
probably
And
a
that's where
brat.
I'm sure I was. And that's where they went on their honeymoon. So
Right.
maybe they wanted a honeymoon before the next baby came.
Maybe. Yeah,
Fine,
baby
fine,
moon.
fine. Yeah, baby
So I used to tell people that, I've never been to Disney. Well, I was on Pirates of the Caribbean. I just wasn't born yet.
Who knew? Well, I did get to experience at around that age a Pirates of the Caribbean knockoff because we used to go to Rye Playland all the time.
That's right.
And they had the Pirates Cave or something like that. That was basically Pirates of the Caribbean. It had animatronic pirates in there and stuff. You went in on a boat. It just didn't have any real
Yeah.
crazy aspects.
I almost looked up other theme parks because there are, tons of theme parks that are probably haunted and abandoned and have stories, whatever. But the more I dug into Disney, I was like, oh, there's
plenty here.
so much here.
A rich vein.
So many depths to plumb.
Yeah.
So here's another comment on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride.
Cool.
From Isaac. I have had a ghost experience at the Pirates of the Caribbean. Okay. So you know how the swamp scene at the beginning of the ride and near the restaurant wall. When I was I was in the swamp scene near where the old man sits. I looked to my left and I thought I saw a face in one of the fake trees. I looked again and the face was gone.
Ooh.
No explanation, just
Yeah,
nothing more than
fine.
that. And it's a comment
hear
on
it.
an article. It's not like you're going to get much more than that.
Yeah,
but
they're
I
not
just
writing a blog post.
exactly. I just love that there are people sharing their own experiences
Yes.
down there.
And very matter-of-factly.
Yes, totally. All right, Space Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really weird one. I've never heard this story before.
Is the story of how Dad's glasses flew off and our sister Karen grabbed them?
I forgot about that.
Yes. I mean, that's basically the whole story, but just to add a little context for people listening. Our dad took, I think just Karen, because I think Lynn used to talk a big game about wanting to go on all the rides, and then when it came down to it, she would stay off. And
Oh,
she
is
was
that right?
scared. Yeah. So I think Dad and our sister Karen went on Space Mountain like a long time ago, and our dad's glasses flew off while they were going through, and Karen, mid-ride, reached up in the air and grabbed them.
Oh, that's so awesome.
She was very good at that kind of stuff. She also found a diamond earring in like a white carpet one time.
Oh my God.
She had an eagle eye, even though she wore glasses too. They did their work.
She really
quite
did.
well.
She knew what she was doing.
Yeah.
She followed her instincts and they led her places.
Yeah.
I am paranoid about my glasses. The few times that I've done a roller coaster, I like sit there like holding the bridge of my glasses to my face like
that
a
didn't
goober.
Even occur to me, but yeah.
Oh, hold on tight.
Of course.
Hold on tight.
Well, I'm not going to go on anything that goes, above 1 mile an hour.
I know.
So.
You're barely going to do, you're not even going to do the teacups.
No. Oh my God. That's spinning?
All the spinning.
All the spinning.
So this is the story of Mr. One Way.
Oh.
Is the name of this phantasm.
Oh.
And it's fantastic.
Cool.
A guy with red hair and a red face.
Okay. I mean, is it me?
Just a red head, his entire head.
Guy version of me.
He gets in the seat next to single riders. If
Not
you're
me.
alone, Mr. One Way might come to sit with you.
God.
According to the 13th floor, it soon becomes obvious that he is not from our time. By the time the ride ends, the man has disappeared from beside you.
Oh, man. So is Mr. One Way, is he taking a ride with you? He's like, ooh, free seat. He goes in there. Could he be accompanying riders so that they're not scared?
That's kind of what I think, because supposedly this is the ghost of a man who died on the ride in the 1970s. Maybe he loves it. Maybe he wants the company. Maybe he wants to be your company.
Yeah,
He just wants to go on it again.
But it doesn't sound sinister whatsoever.
Correct. And also, if he disappears by the end, maybe he disappears when he had a heart attack.
Oh.
At the certain point in the ride when he died.
Right.
If he died on the ride, it makes a sort of ghosty sense that he would disappear at that point.
It does. Like when he gets to his own Dolly's Dip.
Yes.
Mr. One Way's roundabout.
Yeah, Mr. One Way's ride is done. Yeah, back to the beginning.
Right.
So here's a comment from M. Uncamino.
Oh, beautiful name.
Says, now that's just silly. There's no ghosts on Space Mountain. In the 40-plus years I've been going on the ride solo and being loaded next to strangers, I've never seen anything like that. I'm pretty sure I'd remember another red-headed guy. Which made me think.
He just wanted to say that he was redheaded.
Kind of, but I don't know why. I don't know why that's a boast. But also, maybe he's Mr. One Way. He says
he's been going on it for 40 years. That's a long time.
He's been going on it for 40-plus years. Sitting next to other strangers.
He's Mr. One Way.
It's Mr. One Way wrote a comment on this article on Wander Wisdom. Now that's just silly. There's no ghosts on Space Mountain. Why, I've been riding alone next to other people. My face and head are red.
Maybe he knows that he's Mr. One Way and he's being defensive.
Ooh, yeah.
He's like, you guys are all ridiculous.
You know what? This doesn't make sense, but I was going to say, his name here is M. Uncamina.
Could you jumble that around?
You could, because it could be like Mr. Uno.
If you get rid of the camine in the middle, it's M. Uno.
Mr. Uno.
Mr. Uno. Mr. One. Oh my God.
Oh my God, we figured it out. Oh. We couldn't figure out Little Brother. We can't figure out the Prophet, but we got Mr. Uno.
Got Mr. Uno. Maybe in some language, camine means way.
Ooh, yeah.
So he's hidden it inside the one.
Well, an El Camino is a car, and cars drive.
Oh my God. A certain way?
Yeah, a certain way. Cars can only drive one way at a time, as we all know.
Of course, as we all understand.
Cars can't drive two ways at once. So Mr. One Way, Mr. Uno Camino.
He's hiding in plain sight. This guy is having a chuckle.
Yeah, he's laughing
at
us.
expense.
He's laughing at us.
Lying and laughing.
Here is Charlotte's comment saying, I have seen One Way before and thought it was very creepy and it flowed green. It flowed green, not glowed green. It flowed green. I love comments.
I do too.
I love comments.
This is great. You pulled some good ones.
Here's another comment. This is from mouseweight.com talking about Mr. One Way. Here's a comment that somebody wrote. Never saw him, but I did see Lorenzo Lamas once. Does that count? Yeah, it counts.
It counts as far as
they say if you go on Space Mountain, you might see Lorenzo Lamas because he really likes that ride. He goes there a lot. And they say,
Well-
if you go to Disney and you pay attention on Space Mountain, if you look around, you might see Lorenzo Lamas. He loves it there.
Well, Lorenzo Lamas has a similar vibe to Fabio, who rode that ride at Six Flags, I think, and that goose flew into his face and broke his nose.
Oh.
So is there anything there?
There
I
might
don't
be.
think so.
That goose is haunting.
Lorenzo Lamas.
Lorenzo Lamas.
You're next. Another long-haired hunk.
Oh, my God.
The goose is just waiting. I think that goose died, actually.
I would think so.
That went into Fabio's face.
It
Ugh.
exploded.
Yeah, what an incident.
What a horrible thing to have happened.
What an international incident. The implications.
I know. All right, so here's the story. It's another Space Mountain ghost. Disco Debbie.
Ooh.
Disco
I think
Debbie.
I've heard of this.
Really?
Yeah.
There's not much to it.
Uh-huh.
Really, all it is they say there's an employee who mysteriously died of a brain aneurysm backstage at Space Mountain, and now she flies around in there and she glows green.
So maybe our friend Charlotte didn't actually see Mr. One-Way flowing green. She saw Disco Debbie flowing green. An easy mistake. I mean, if it's flowing green,
Yeah.
you can't tell if it's red hair or a disco lady.
Yes, true. I have seen One Way before, and I thought it was very creepy, and it flowed green.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Replace
actually
that
Disco
with,
Debbie.
I have seen Disco Debbie before, and it was very creepy, and she flowed green.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Disco Debbie brings me to... We're going to leave Space Mountain now.
Okay.
We're going to go to a story that's not so much of a haunting, but it is a very notorious, horrible incident that happened at Disney.
Cool.
And a lot of people talking about Disco Debbie ended up talking about this person, Deborah Gale Stone. I'm
Okay.
sure you know this story, but I have...
Does that have to do with a curtain or something?
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
But I don't totally remember. So perfect.
Okay. So there was an attraction called America Sings.
Mm-hmm.
And it had this rotating stage and animatronics. It was all musical. So this is a story that happened in Anaheim, so it's on the West Coast, on July 8th, 1974. This is a true story.
Yeah.
There was a death in America Sings. To have that rotating stage, you got to think of the sort of gutter between where the stage itself is pivoting and the rest of like the building around it.
Right.
There's like a little narrow channel between...
Like where that guy got killed in Radioland Murders.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
By where the guy got Larry Storch or
Yeah.
whatever.
What the hell is that guy's name?
Larry Miller.
Larry Miller.
Larry Miller. And what movie did you just say?
Radioland Murders.
Radioland Murders,
Yeah.
which we watched recently.
It's not very good.
Not great.
That scene is great.
Yeah. Oh, it's my God. Round and round I go.
Right?
Watch Radioland Murders. It's about...
and then talk to us about it. Nobody else will.
No, it's about an old-timey radio station that's its inaugural night going on the air. And so they have like performers standing with microphones being like, why, yes, I am the private investigator.
Yeah.
Like old-timey
Radio plays.
scripted radio plays.
Right.
Ah,
There's the Dolby artist who's Christopher Lloyd, who's
Yep.
using, coconuts, not Dolby art.
Foley
artist, using coconuts to make horse hoof sounds and stuff.
it's great.
The setup and everything is great. I thought it was a great movie because we watched it a bunch when we were kids, and then we watched it as adults, and we were like, this movie kind of stinks.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
some good stuff in it. There's some great stuff in it,
There's some
actually.
great stuff in
Yeah.
it. There is an evil voice that takes over the airwaves to foretell everyone's death.
Right. It's pretty cool.
So it'll be like, dig too deep and you'll get hurt. And everyone will kind of look around like, what the hell was that? And
Yeah,
then
who
just the
put that on
regular
the air?
music will come back on.
Yeah.
So everybody forgets the scary voice, but then somebody dies according to the little poem that he just said.
Right. It's
great.
theme. Yeah.
Okay, so Deborah Stone at the America Sings attraction. Nobody really knows what happened. She may have fallen into the gap between the moving wall and the stationary wall. She may have stepped back into that teeny tiny area by mistake, or she may have been trying to jump from one side of this kind of gutter to the other. Either way, the first person to call out what was happening was an audience member who heard screaming
Oh, God.
and tried to get the attention of the staff. The other employees somehow thought the screaming everyone was hearing was part of the show. Either way, by the time people investigated, Deborah Stone was dead, having been crushed between the walls on this rotating stage.
Oh.
So here's a comment from Vane Vaz. Now, I also want to say that you and I try to be very respectful of stories like this. So I don't bring this up as anything other than just like, this is what people say, right? I'm just documenting this is what people say about this incident. Vain Vaz. I had a dream of Debbie Stone. She is asking for help to get to the other side. And it was just like kind of a creepy comment.
Chilling.
A little chilling, a little like a little capitalizing on real life misery. A little, unless this person really believes it.
Or maybe they really had that dream. And I mean, people do talk about, you know, it's hard for everybody, I think, but for some people to realize that these are like real life deaths and things like that. It's not just a story. So maybe they did have that dream and they're just commenting because it's pertinent to the story and they don't connect that. Maybe it could be messed up for a family member. And maybe it's like a little inappropriate, weird.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's also like this was just a comment left on the article. This person doesn't even have a profile picture.
Yeah, right.
So it's just like they're just someone out in the world.
Yeah, just throwing it out there.
Who claims that the ghost of Debbie Stone appeared to them in a dream to ask for help moving on.
It's weird that when these stories become public, like they're not really, but then they kind of belong to everybody in a certain way. Yeah. Like you have your own thoughts and perspective on the Debbie Stone death, and maybe it's wormed its way into your subconscious, and you could have a dream about it, or maybe it's maybe it's real or whatever. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm very conflicted about that comment. I really come down on the side of like ick about it, but it was also so
just don't say it. Just
intriguing to me that somebody said that and like commented that.
Yeah.
It like really speaks to like a way that people sometimes behave on the internet in particular. Now they didn't say anything that's really like inflammatory. No. It's the definition of like, it's inappropriate.
It's just a little thoughtless.
Yeah, it's a little thoughtless. Yeah. It's just interesting to me.
It is interesting.
All right. It's a Small World. Another one of your favorites.
Yes. Controversially so.
Yeah, frequently mocked.
But I thought it was beautiful.
World. It is. We went on it many times.
Yeah, I loved the way it looked.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
Here's the story from Wander Wisdom that several cast members who worked on It's a Small World loved the ride so much that they came back to reside there after they have died.
Maybe all Haunted's a Small World.
So the ride is haunted not because anything horrible happened there, but because people loved it so much.
Because it's so joyful.
There's also a legend that the lights will turn on and off and that the dolls will keep on dancing and singing after hours when the electricity has been turned off.
That's awesome. I love that.
There was another legend that I saw online but didn't end up writing down, but it springs to mind, that somebody was taking photographs while they were on the ride, and later when they had them developed, meaning this was decades ago, it looked like there was the body of a child hanging from the ceiling.
Ooh.
Just kind of fun. Kind of eerie.
Scary.
Now, this is not part of any article. This is another comment, but this is sort of a completely different story.
Okay.
This is from somebody named Bibbs A, who wrote this 3 years ago, commenting on Wander Wisdom, who told their own story of a ghastly event that happened at Disney. Now, I don't know what this world is, and I actually forgot to look it up. Do you want to look up Autopia?
Sure.
It's like auto, like a car. So it makes me think it's Cars World, but I don't remember when that first movie came out, if this year makes sense.
Okay.
So Bibbs says, I worked at Disneyland in 2003, 2004, and definitely had a ghostly experience. I worked at Autopia, and one night after closing, I was at Station 3, which wasn't allowed to be unoccupied at any moment due to security. I was waiting for the last car to come by and pick me up to finish closing the ride, and I felt a distinct tug on my pants. I turned around and saw nothing, but heard what sounded like giggling.
Ooh.
There were no trees for me to get caught on or anything. I was standing in between two of the tracks on a little sidewalk. I never saw anything, but I felt that tug so clearly that I got pretty scared and radioed into the closing manager that they'd better hurry up and get me. Security protocol or not, I was ready to just run out of there. It was an experience I'll never forget. I was told that the land where Autopia was built used to be an orange grove, and the caretaker of the land lived on or around where Autopia is today. His home burned down with his children inside it, who perished. I'm told that others have had experiences there, and people theorize it's the caretaker's children having a laugh. Well, they definitely had a good laugh at my expense.
Ooh, that's creepy.
Isn't that great?
Yes, and Autopia is a race car track ride sponsored by Honda.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so it's not really necessarily even themed to a movie, really.
No, I don't think so. It's just race cars on a track, basically.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. But yeah, ghost children.
Giggling ghost children is a cliche and trope, but for a reason.
Yeah, maybe
Very
they happen
creepy.
constantly.
Maybe it happens constantly, and also it's just scary.
There's another ghostly trope that I'm going to talk about in a bit when we get to like Main Street Disney that I'm really sort of
love
like
Main Street Disney.
fond of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Main Street Disney is like
Yeah.
a dream.
It's so cool.
I'm going to tell you a story in a little bit about Walt Disney having an office on Main Street. And it's just like, those are fake shops. It's literally, we're saying Main Street. If you're not familiar with Main Street
right.
Disney, it's literally meant to look like a small town's Main Street. So
Well, it's
there
like
are
the Music Man.
businesses.
People get that, right?
It does look like the Music Man. It's just like a quaint little town. And so Walt Disney had an apartment there that he would live in with his family.
That's so nuts to me. They mentioned that in the Imagineers on Disney Plus, and I was like, "Excuse me."
It's like hard to
so
imagine
awesome.
like having a normal day, like rise and
Wizard of
shine,
Oz.
and you're in a theme park.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I live here.
I love it. I would love that so much.
So cool.
You know, I did a lot of writing when we went to Harry Potter World a while back, and it's like I just love the idea of trying to get into an everyday mindset in a theme park because it's so
Yes.
impossible.
Yeah.
Your mind is
fun.
fragmented when you're in a theme park, but like to think that you could actually go there and do business or
Yeah,
create
right.
something or write a story is
Something that's like a mundane part of your everyday life, but there's a dragon breathing fire by you.
yes. And is the fact that there's a dragon breathing fire by you, does that worm its way into
Right.
the DNA of what you're writing? Are you in an altered mind state?
Yeah.
Almost.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to be.
I love it. All right, Haunted Mansion.
Cool.
I was a little let down. I wanted something a lot spookier, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the Haunted Mansion is just
It's its own
just a ride.
spookiness. It doesn't even need it.
exactly. But here are some stories that I thought were pretty cool.
Cool.
There have long been tales of people trying to surreptitiously sneak the ashes of loved ones into this ride. I know my mother-in-law has made this request. Don't worry, we told her it was not going to happen. This is from the 13th floor, by the way. One woman sneaked in her son's ashes, but the boy didn't want the Haunted Mansion to be his final resting place.
What?
You can now hear him sobbing as you
God.
exit the ride.
Ugh. That's terrible. Why the hell did she do that?
Maybe she thought that he would like
Yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
like, this is something that you never really think about.
Right.
You know, when you think about scattering somebody's ashes,
You think of it as like their final wish and you're doing their will.
right.
But what if you're not?
And the rules of the spirit world, again, like
Yeah,
if you've listened to Guide to the Unknown,
Right.
I am very hung up on the rules of the ghost world. And this is an interesting side effect of what seems to be the laws that ghosts operate by.
Right. That you're attached
Yeah.
to your remains in some way.
Yes. And so, hey, bad luck, Johnny. You're stuck in the Haunted Mansion, even if you don't want to be.
Right.
And
You're
so now
here.
he's just there crying.
Ugh.
So scary.
Very.
Now, here's something that's not quite as spooky, but is still interesting nonetheless, and something that you can look out for.
Okay.
As your doom buggy travels by the ghostly ballroom scene, which I think we all know, this is where all like the Pepper's ghost effect of projecting a spirit, a bunch of them dancing down there, you may notice a large spider on the glass just before you pass into the attic.
Okay.
So tattoo this on your brain.
Okay.
As you're in the doom buggy, which you're gonna be, you might
Yes.
be on it right now as people are listening.
True.
Which is very fun.
Yeah.
Pay attention to when there's a spider on the glass.
Okay.
In the 1970s, a man fired his gun at the glass.
What?
The glass was bulletproof, so it punctured the glass but didn't shatter it.
Okay.
Imagineers found it too costly and time-consuming to replace the glass, so they just covered it with a spider.
I love that.
Now, is that true?
Yeah, I know.
Maybe not.
I'll keep an eye open.
Maybe not. I'm going to go
it
with
probably-
probably not.
I would think not. Also, I would think that it would cause more than just a spider sticker hole.
I know.
You know?
Yeah,
But
it's weird. Well, maybe the spider's
what do I know?
gigantic.
True.
Maybe it's
true.
distractingly large, lazy.
Obtrusive.
Imagineers
Maybe
are
somebody
not
just-
known for being lazy, by the way.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
So I don't think so.
By the
but
way-
I like the idea of it.
We recently talked when you covered Ghouls on Film. We recently did. I think it's episode 119.
Yep.
You told a story about a Yosemite Sam type fella who fired his gun at a ghost.
Yes.
How frequently
Yeah.
are like
these dudes frightened of just like something moving in their periph that they don't have a total handle on, and they're just pulling out their Luger.
Yeah. Haunted Mansion would be a nightmare for that guy who shot that ghost.
Oh, yeah.
I'm surrounded.
Yeah. They got me.
They got me. Oh, my God. All right. Grandma Joyce. The story of Grandma Joyce. This is from DisneylandGuru.tumblr.com. Someone, this is from the point of view of people working the ride and looking at the security cameras, they could tell that somebody was sprinkling ashes.
Okay.
They would just see like a little puff of ash on this side, puff of ash on that side. But watching the security cameras...
I've told you before, I think the way to get around this is you bake the ash into a disc. And then you drop it like a wafer.
You're a crazy person. You're crazy.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, because Disney is like famously like if you sprinkle ashes, they will find them and just vacuum them.
They don't want that to happen.
They don't want that to happen.
Right.
I also thought if they're cleaning up all these ashes, it has to go somewhere. What if they have like a mass grave?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what if there's a hole?
Maybe they're massive. Maybe the tunnels are like massively haunted.
Maybe.
Because they've been disposing of these ashes.
Yeah.
Right? They have to go somewhere.
You got to go somewhere. It would be fascinating to separate from all the other like stuff that goes to like the dump.
Yeah, right.
To just have like a big pit that's full of commingled ashes from hundreds of people.
Do they have like a special chute for that or something?
Yeah, exactly. And like what happens to commingled ghosts?
Yeah.
Like would it be like your arm on my body? You know, like do they all get like jumbled and become a monster?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So anyway, they could see that somebody was sprinkling ashes all over the place, but they could not figure out who was doing it. Then later on, when they were investigating the ride to see, because people had been obviously tampering, they saw that a bunch of the plants at the ride's entrance had been like plucked up. And so examining that, they found that somebody had dug down a little teeny bit and then covered the plants back up over what they had dug, because they placed an urn in the ground reading, "Rest in peace, our dearest Grandma Joyce." How
did they do that without being noticed?
I don't know.
Wow.
These workers then took the urn to the video camera room where it stayed for a while until a few bored employees...
I feel like I would just leave it, maybe.
Oh, totally.
If I worked there, I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's not bothering anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, plus
I did dig to find it.
It's sort of on theme with where we are right now.
It's kind of
Who's it offending? Yeah.
This person brought in a trowel.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know, yeah. So eventually a few bored employees took the empty urn up to the catwalks inside the Haunted Mansion to create a little memorial to sweet old Grandma Joyce.
That's nice.
So somewhere above your head in the Haunted Mansion may be a little shrine.
I love that.
To sweet old Grandma Joyce.
Yeah.
Now, I also do want to point out that we're going to leave the Haunted Mansion now. We're going to go to our final location in Haunted Disney. But if you are into the Haunted Mansion and honestly some of the folklore about the Haunted Mansion, you should definitely check out our episode all about it.
Yes.
We did it somewhat recently.
We love the Haunted Mansion.
And there's so much to say about the Haunted Mansion, because there are even like elements of the design of the Haunted Mansion that play off of things that people have theorized. So like the bride's wedding ring is embedded in the asphalt outside, which you should look for. I can't wait
to see that.
But that was not originally part of the design. It was like a fan theory that her wedding ring was in the ground. So when they revisited the ride and were up, maintaining it, they did in fact bury a real wedding ring in the asphalt, just to play into the legend that people who enjoy the ride had been telling each other. So if you want to hear more stories like that, go check out episode 105, where we speak all about the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, and haunted mansions around the world, like Disney haunted mansions, because they have different storylines and stuff. It's very cool.
Yeah, there's Disneyland Paris, Disneyland Tokyo, Hong Kong. We went into all of the Haunted Mansion stories. Very fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so here are some like basic, outside of the rides, just walking around Disney ghost stories.
Cool.
The monorail ghost. As the story goes, in 1966, a kid tried to sneak into Disneyland by climbing over the monorail track. Had you heard this?
No.
I think I had heard this story, just in the course of people telling ghost stories. I think this one had made its way to me.
No, I don't know this.
Security saw him and, started trying to get to him. But the kid, being a kid, quite honestly, didn't think I'm in danger.
Right.
Thought, I'm about to get caught. And so continued running along the track. A train started coming around the bend. And so this kid decided to try to duck under the train.
Okay.
Lie down on the track.
People do it in movies.
Yeah, people do it in movies. But he ended up getting sucked up into the mechanics of the train and got dragged 30 to 40 feet before the train was able to stop.
Oof.
There are still rumors that cast members driving the monorail will sometimes see a young man running along the track right in the spot where this kid died.
That's horrifying. It's one thing to just see a ghost, and that's very scary, but I feel like there are a couple things at play here. First of all, you could just, for the split second that you see it, think it's a real kid and freak out, then freak out because you realize it's the famous ghost or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a lot there.
Yeah, it keeps you on your toes,
Sure does.
right? Like if you're driving that train and you think you see someone on the track.
Yeah, God.
You immediately think to like pull the brake or something.
Yes.
I don't know. But then when you realize it's a ghost, you're both relieved
still scary.
and double scared.
Yes.
I saw a damn ghost.
Very bracing.
Yeah. Here's a lovely one. Here's a lovely story. And this is sort of piggybacking off of something that I didn't write down, but I also thought was interesting. There are rumors of, and I think that this happens in a lot of places. But there are rumors that Disney used to be a hotspot for kidnappers.
Okay.
That they would like grab your kids, take them to like one of the bathrooms nearby and like cut their hair or dye their hair or change their clothes or something to make them, not immediately recognizable. And then try to sneak them out.
Right.
Now, here's a ghost story about a woman in white at Disney. So a ghostly apparition wearing white Victorian clothing who is said to wander Main Street, helping lost children find their way to the baby care center. This is said to be the spirit of a woman who died at the site in the 1900s. So this is way before this park existed, but is still connected to the land. Some have theorized that the old-timey feel of Main Street may have been why she remained.
Oh, she felt comfortable there.
She felt comfortable there, and she can help these kids.
Right.
Now, we've also talked about women in white, who usually are tied to some sort of a child story.
Yes.
Either they have lost their babies, or in this case, are apparently trying to save children. But connecting this to that rumor of like kidnappings and stuff.
Yeah, right. She's a good Samaritan.
She's a good Samaritan. She's there to help.
Yeah, that's awesome.
To be the savior. All right, and then the final story that I'm going to share with you is a ghost that maybe we should all not be super shocked is rumored to be at Disney.
Old Walt himself.
That's right. The very man, the founder of the feast.
Founder of the feast.
Raise a glass.
Yeah.
So evidently, Walt Disney used to have an apartment over, now remember this, the fire station.
Okay.
On Main Street, Disney. There was a window up there, and there was a lamp in the window. That is
man.
Walt's office. He'd go there to stay with his family, and he had an office there so he could get some work done. Can't imagine having a clear enough head to be like, now down to business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, maybe like you, he liked to do it as a little bit of an exercise. He's like, I'm going to get down to business. I know it's all crazy here and everything,
let's
but maybe
challenge our
will...
perception.
Yeah.
Yeah. After he died in 1966, the apartment was basically preserved. Staff would just go in to dust it. One employee went up and noticed that there was a desk lamp in the window still turned on. So she turned it off. Getting back down to Main Street and looking around and up, she noticed that the lamp was back on again. So confused, she goes back inside, goes back upstairs, turns the lamp back off again, and goes back outside.
Sure.
The lamp is still on. This damn lamp.
It simply won't turn off.
I won't accept this. Unacceptable. So now she goes inside, goes upstairs, and unplugs the lamp. We'll be having no more of this funny business. Only to then hear a voice, perhaps Walt Disney himself, say, "I'm still here."
Ooh, God.
The light in the window has been left on ever since.
I love that. So I got to give a look up there above the fire station, see that lamp on, give a little nod.
Tip of the hat.
Little jaunty tip of the Mickey ears that I'm sure I'll be wearing.
Or a little salute.
Yep.
Hey,
sir.
Well done, sir.
Is this a thing in anything? Because this is what not this is what I thought you were going to say, but this is what came to mind. You said she goes up there to dust.
Right.
Is this a thing in anything where somebody's dusting and I don't even know how this would happen. They're holding their duster in the air or something. They're dusting a table and then they hit something else solid that they can dust, but they can't see anything. So they're dusting. They feel a surface, but it's up into the air.
They dust around the shape of a person?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They're dusting the shape. They're like, okay, I'll just keep this moving. I'll follow this edge with my duster. Oh my God. It's the shape of a person, Walt.
It's so stupid. It's so dumb.
Has this happened in anything?
You know, I think maybe it's come up in some writers' meetings for The Invisible Man, and then people dismissed it immediately because they all started going like, all right, let's unpack this. So the second she hits something solid that's invisible right in front of her, her instinct is to continue trying to dust around the shape.
Yes.
And we're supposed to keep in track the way that she's moving her duster, and we'll understand that it's the shape of a person. We can't really see that.
You
hey,
mark
what if
my
we
words.
dumped a bucket of paint on him? Then we'd see the shape.
You mark my words, bitch. And that Elizabeth Moss Invisible Man
Duster.
coming out.
Duster scene.
Duster scene.
Everyone's going to be talking about the duster scene.
Yes. It's going to be chilling.
Whoa. Did you see The Invisible Man?
It's going to be iconic. Like
It
the way that people
sucked,
talk about
but that duster scene.
the way they talk about the cereal eating scene in Get Out, where she's munching on those tricks.
Sure. Yeah.
Everyone's going to talk about the duster scene. It's going to be
Yeah.
out of context. You're like, okay, so somebody was eating cereal and Get Out. Why is that scary? You're going to be like, okay, somebody was dusting something in The Invisible Man, you're saying, and that
Right.
was terrifying. And then you'll see it and you get it.
It also begs, like, at what point does the Invisible Man realize he's been caught? You know what I mean? Like,
Maybe he's
He's
messing with them.
continued
He's
standing
like,
there.
yeah, no, go ahead. Find the shape with your duster.
He should, you know what? When they start to dust around his head, he should go, achoo, as the feathers hit his nose. Oh, no! There's an invisible man!
That gal's lucky that didn't happen to her up there.
Yeah.
That light turn itself on probably sounds pretty good to that gal now.
I know. You know, to overwrite it now,
Yeah.
the Invisible Man's name, Dusty.
Too far, Will.
Overwritten.
Too far.
Overwritten.
Nope.
Well, there you go.
Hit the undo button.
Those are, oh crap! It auto saved. Well, we have to keep it. All right. Those are some hauntings at Disney for you to look out for you to bear in mind. Maybe you'll have your own encounter that has not been
Oh
documented
my
on the
God.
internet.
If only.
Maybe you'll see something that flows green.
Maybe I will see something that flows green.
You never know.
Oh my God.
You never know what
William,
might
I
happen.
am very excited.
Yeah.
By the way, I did have probably not an encounter, but I heard something in the house the other day, something like fell or moved or something. And I said out loud, I don't know exactly what I said, but I said, if this is a ghost, can you please do something again so I know that it's a ghost and that it's not just that, something fell.
Right.
Nothing happened.
But they might have been, it could have been a ghost that's like, oh, I'll prey on your lack of knowing for sure.
Perhaps.
Right?
Perhaps.
Maybe they had
I
to-
did think of that. I was like, well, maybe they don't want me to know it's a ghost.
Maybe they don't want you to know.
So
You never know.
I guess
It's
we'll
tricky.
see. To be continued.
That's the thing about ghosts.
They're tricky.
They're tricky.
That's the thing.
Looks like we've got a trickster. All right, everybody.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about Disney? Do you have your own Disney ghost stories? There's
love to
no
hear it.
way that I covered everything.
I think there are probably a million.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
please feel free to send some of them in to us. You can
Yeah.
reach us
We'll
at...
keep talking about them.
Oh, without a doubt. Maybe
So-
you'll come back with some stuff that we need to dig
yeah,
into.
that'd be awesome.
Hit us online at GTTUpod on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's also a great way to keep up to date with the things that we're posting.
Yep.
You can also email gttupod at gmail.com with your stories. Maybe they'll end up in a future show.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we do listener stories.
Yep.
Or you can create a thread on facebook.com/groups/gttupod so you can talk back not only to us, but to other people who watch and listen to this very program.
Yeah, absolutely. You can also go to patreon.com/gttupod to find more content from us. We have monthly bonus episodes, a weekly clue about the episode to come, and just other stuff sprinkled over there. So check it out and become a Netherworld warrior for a minimum of $4 a month to get access to all that cool stuff. And more to come.
We would greatly, greatly appreciate it if
Very,
you would
very, very much.
tell people about this show if you
Yes.
enjoyed it. Post
Yes,
about
yes.
it, write a blog post, just scream about it on the subway.
Oh, absolutely.
You can also leave a 5-star review for us on Apple Podcasts or any other podcast app that allows you to leave reviews that does a great deal for us so that
Yes.
people see that we're not some rinky-dink, crappy little show.
Operation.
Plus, we read it and we get all happy about
Yeah,
it.
it makes us feel good.
Yeah, so do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, more than anything, we just hope you had a good time.
Yes,
So thank
thank
you
you for
all
hanging
so
out.
much for hanging out with us. We will see you again next week when we will be back to gab about ghouls. But until that time comes, we'll grab some gabagool. But until that time comes, we must travel.
Back to the netherworld go we.
Gabagool.
Gabagool.
Gibby-gee.
I love gabagool.
Gooby-goo.
Is gabagool capicola?
What's capicola?
Like that meat?
I thought gabagool is like a soup. Grab
You
some
might be
gabagool.
thinking of pasta fagioli.
How the hell do you how do I even Google this? Oh wait, no, I know what to do. I know what to do.
Gabagool.
I know what to do.
Voice to text?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
What is gabagool?
The word gabagool is about as Italian as apple pie.
What the hell does that mean?
Okay.
That doesn't help me.
That's what man, Esquire's really got a monopoly on information about gabagool.
Yeah. Esquire is like the leading source for gabagool.
It is. It's capicola.
It's capicola? Wow.
Yeah.
Capicol gabagool? Could
Yeah.
it be could it be
Could
like
it be?
could it be? No, could it be like, oh, I made some capicol.
Yes, I think it's just
Did you say
mushmouth.
gabagool? I was trying to say capicol, but I had
said
phlegm in
gabagool.
my throat.
Or I had a mouthful of gabagool.
Gabagool.
Yeah.
It's a gabagool.
Gabagool.
All right.